Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, May 14th, 2026 at 4 p.m. I now call this Fairfield Township Board of Trustees meeting to order. Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Birdie.
Present.
Trustee Harkemeyer.
Here.
Trustee McAbee.
Here. Okay, now that I turn my microphone on, Trustee Harkemeyer, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
Love to.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just want to begin by thanking everyone for being flexible. We felt it was important to move our trustee meeting to a date that all three trustees could attend. And so that's why we moved it to today at 4 p.m. So thank you again for all being very flexible. We have a very important meeting, a lot of items to discuss, and I appreciate your flexibility. So the first item on the agenda is presentations. Ms. Lipinski.
So we have a final development plan for Bridgewater Church for Motley Seven Brew LLC. Go ahead, Chuck.
So the applicant is currently requesting the approval of the final PUD plans for Seven Brew. So the subject property is located at adjacent to 6565 Winter Avenue. My microphone. Which is generally situated northeast of the intersection of Princeton Road and Gilmore Road. The parcel abuts the following zoning districts: BPUD directly to the north, west, and southwest, E2 to the east, M1 light industrial to the south. The parcel of interest is 0.795 acres. And it is in the southeast corner of the development, directly west of Big O Tires. Vehicles access to the site will utilize the private road and access easement that connects to Winford Avenue. There will be no vehicle access directly to Princeton Road. Plans include the construction of a 510 square foot building, a remote cooler building, two drive-through lanes, and associated site improvements. The building would be set back approximately 82 feet from the current Princeton Road right-of-way and approximately 62 feet from the future right-of-way. It'll be set back 45 feet from the west property line and 34 foot from the east property line. A parking lot plan includes 10 parking spaces. One of those spaces is handicap. This parking plan exceeds the requirements outlined in section 812. The proposed building facade is composed primarily of brick veneer, glass metal storefront, and a blue metal canopy, as well as blue accents. The building meets and exceeds the architectural requirements outlined in the Bridgewater Church BPUD design guidelines. The submitted landscape plans included a narrow variety of shrubs along the perimeter of the site, plantings around the dumpster enclosure, and one tree. The applicant has indicated that they will make updates to the landscape plans that will include the addition of larger trees in the interior of the parking lot, more diverse plant selection, and additional landscaping layered along Princeton Road, as well as the addition of a pedestrian access from the site to the sidewalk on Princeton Road. So it's the opinion of the staff that the conditions that were placed on the original PUD during the zone change and preliminary PUD process have been addressed in the provided final PUD plans. It's also the opinion of the staff that the submitted plans generally meet the requirements and guidelines outlined in the Bridgewater Church BPUD design guidelines. The applicant has made efforts to address concerns and issues that have been brought forward by township staff, and staff further believes that the final BPUD is consistent with sections 615.7 of the Fairfield Township zoning resolution and will promote public health, safety, and general welfare of the residents of Fairfield Township. Based on the findings of fact in the submitted proposal, to the Fairfield Township Board of Trustees. Staff makes the recommendation to approve with conditions the final PUD plan with incorporation of the following conditions. First condition is that all applicable findings and conditions from case number FTZC 26-1C shall remain in effect and are required to be met. Condition 2 is enhancements to landscaping plans are to be approved by the zoning administrator prior to the approval of the zoning certificate. These enhancements include additional interior plantings, larger plants, additional trees, and enhancements to the street frontage. Also, the monument sign and location must be approved by the zoning administrator prior to the approval of the zoning certificate. Additional pedestrian access and markings from Princeton Road to the storefront will be added, and all branding associated with this location references the proper jurisdiction of Fairfield Township. Staff's report.
Any questions of staff?
Will Fairfield Township be prominently displayed anywhere that Fairfield Township would be required as opposed to Hamilton or any other entity? Will it have Fairfield Township?
That's the goal. That's the aim of that.
Okay.
We've communicated that to the applicant a number of times, so.
We're very proud that
we'll
we're
make sure that it's the
Fairfield
case.
Township. We're-
That was condition
not-
5.
And it is a condition on
Yes.
the.
Please make it Fairfield Township.
Are you asking if it to be condition 1?
I wouldn't mind. The other question I had too is I know that we've had some other buildings come in with dumpsters, and I want to make sure that the dumpster height is blocked or that it's fenced in
Enclosure
and
height.
enclosure height. I remember that we've had some cases where we've had people come in that have not had the dumpsters appropriately hidden, I guess, or covered. So I just want to make sure that because that is right there on kind of a.
Yeah, that's something that we can, make sure that gets addressed. I know that the dumpster enclosure is going to match the facade materials, but we can make sure that the height is sufficient to actually screen out the dumpster.
Okay.
Will it be
And
on
that's
the-
something they could speak on, I'm sure.
Will it be on the Princeton side or the?
The dumpster, so the dumpster is not going to be on the Princeton side. It's going to be along the private access road.
Okay, would the applicant like to address the board? You could come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Since this is not a public hearing, do they need to be sworn in? Okay.
Drew Ponton, 5529 Lexington Drive, Hilliard, Ohio. Thanks again, everybody, at the township for having us here. My name is Drew. I'm the Director of Real Estate for Motley 7 Brew here in Ohio. We have Joe Horton with CESO, our civil engineer, Jeff Longcore, also with CISO, and AJ Scott, our construction project manager. Just thought it might make sense just to kind of introduce everybody to the brand before Joe gets into the specifics, but we're a drive-through only coffee and beverage concept. We have something for everyone: coffee, tea, smoothies, milkshakes. If there's something, we probably have it. We do not have any food. It is just strictly beverages, aside from a little muffin, prepackaged muffin that we can hand out to the cars. But as I said, we operate as a double drive-through lane. Our employees are out in the lanes taking orders on tablets and running drinks out to the vehicles. So there's not actually a squawk box where you go and order at like a typical QSR restaurant. I think that's pretty much the nitty-gritty of it. Happy to answer any questions you all might have or hand it off to Joe here.
How many employees will you have?
So typically per stand, it's about 40 to 50 part-time and full-time.
And what are your hours of operation?
We are 5:30 to 11 p.m.
Every day of the week?
Correct, yep.
Certainly appreciate everybody's time this afternoon and the consideration of the Board of Trustees. Just to answer a few questions that may have come up from Chuck's presentation, and certainly appreciate Chuck's help throughout this process. That dumpster enclosure, you can see on the provided exterior elevations, I believe we call that out as 6 feet 9 inches high, and that will be adequately screened with the indicated landscaping, so should not be an issue there, and we have never had that be a problem with any of our other sites. But
Thank
this-
you.
Of course. But more than happy to answer any questions as it relates to the design of the site or anything site-related.
And you know you're on a private drive, so when it snows 12 inches, you're on your own to get out and get people in and out.
I'll do what I can to shovel it, but
Well,
yes.
we're not going to push it. We're not going to push it, in other words.
Okay.
Yeah, there'd be a pre-made agreement with us and the parties to that access drive. No issues there.
Is there any walk-up service or it's just strictly drive-through?
You can. We don't market it. We like to say we're about 98, I sometimes say 99% all drive-through. But with the connection we are going to make to the sidewalk, as you can see on the plan here, where the walk-in cooler is, that building, off the main one, there is a window there, and that's where employees could come out, and if somebody walks up, take an order there and bring it out to you.
When will you be operating?
We'd like to be operating this yesterday if we could, just as fast as we can get through the process. And, we'd like to be up and going. These things are pretty interesting in the sense that they are prefabricated buildings. So, we just go in, do the site work, and they come in and they call it a building drop. They bring the building in on a semi truck in a few pieces. And one day it's just dirt and the next day there's a building there. It's pretty cool to see. So definitely let everybody know if, we get through this process when that is. But the construction timeline is typically 8 to 10 weeks. So it's pretty fast.
All right, any other questions from the board?
I'd like to know when that day is. I think that would be very interesting to watch. If you could let us know, that would be, other people might find that interesting as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. We just did. He was at one last week. We'll definitely let y'all know.
Very cool.
Any other comments the applicant would like to make?
I think this was implied, but we are lined up to meet all those conditions that Chuck outlined. It's provided that pedestrian connection to Princeton Road and then as well as the enhanced landscaping.
Okay, great. Anything else from the board?
I thought the plans were very complete. I spent some time with them earlier this week.
Probably the most detailed plans that we've gotten in quite some time.
They're ready to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
They're ready. Yeah, it's definitely building plan level.
Especially for like a drop structure, like. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, if there's no other questions on item A, we can move on to item B. And we moved up the resolution for that final development plan for Bridgewater Church as the next item. Mr. Pensy?
So resolution number 26-49 is a resolution to approve the final plan unit development plan for 7 Brew as set forth in zoning case FTZ 26-2C final PUD.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
Just to be clear, we're adopting that with the conditions 1 through 5 as listed by staff, correct? Great. There's no other questions or comments. Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Harkemaier.
Yes?
Trustee McAbey.
Yes?
Trustee Birding.
Yes, and that resolution is adopted. Congratulations. And you don't need to stay for the whole meeting if you don't want to.
And welcome to Fairfield Township.
Okay, a representative from the Journal News is here.
Yeah, I
If you
think-
guys want to talk to them. Go ahead. Okay, now we'll move on to the next items, the items for board discussion. Ms. LaPency?
So first up would be the budget for 2027, which I have placed in front of you. So I've gone through the budget in entirety after speaking with each of you individually about where we should be with our budget. With one levy failing and the other one passing, made it a little bit challenging to get our budget done, but I think it was clear the direction was that we didn't want to make any cuts at this time unless you guys have changed your mind. But, so what I did is I looked at the safety services levy and I shifted it so that all of it goes to the police for just 2027. Obviously, we can't sustain that for any longer than that period of time, but for 2027, it does work that we can support both the police and the fire with us shifting it in that manner. I did include other capital items such as like the bond payment for the fire station improvements, if we should move forward with those, and some other capital items that we had planned for. Basically, it's just a 1% increase in revenue and a 5 to 8% to 10% increase in expenditures, depending on the item. Because like health insurance, and that has been going up about 10%, where everything else has been about 8 to 10%. So at your leisure, if you could look through that and let me know if that's okay with you. And then obviously we have it later on in the agenda to set the public hearing date for the tax budget in June, because we have to adopt the final budget or final tax budget in July. So if you could let me know if that works for you, if you want to see changes. And then I also handed out, in 2027, like what are, like all the balances, like based on the revenue and the expenditures and what our balances would be for 2027. And you can see that our balances are going down. I think this year we have about 20 million in carryover, and we're down to about 13 once we do everything we plan to do. So you have to let me know if I need to go in another direction.
I would like to have a further discussion about our proposed budget for next year. I know we're going to sort of talk about that based on election results later. But, so, what your proposal is to not make any cuts to any of the departments other than what we're making to the policy manual.
Right.
And just using some of the safety service money to help offset,
It's not some of it, it's all of it.
all of it, offset police.
Right.
Well, I'm hoping that also means that we're going to continue to look at ways that we can streamline processes and look at cost reductions and things of
Yeah.
that nature,
So
correct?
if you want me to pursue that, I will, and that way I can have a final for you for the tax budget. But I've handed out, we've consulted with all the department heads and we came up with what we think could be potential budget cuts. It's kind of the list that I read the last meeting. So if you would like me to implement some of those, we absolutely can do that. I also would like for you guys to consider increases in revenue as well, to offset some of those. So I'm prepared to do that for the next meeting, is have a list and have resolutions ready, and we can go forward with that.
I do think that we need to have an open discussion in public about, and maybe I'll hold these comments after we talk about election results. But, since one levy passed and one didn't, if there are cuts to be made, sort of the residents told us where they would like us to make those cuts, in my opinion. I haven't talked to any of you yet. So I think it's worth that discussion. And so after we go over the election results, maybe if we need to set up a budget meeting prior to June resolutions, maybe we should have 2 meetings in June, I'm not sure.
Probably a good idea.
Any other comments from the board? And I haven't heard any feedback about the budget from anybody since election day, so I'll be interested to hear what our thought process is as a board. Okay. Thank you. A lot of work. Like using your magic wand.
I did.
Thank you.
All right, fire station renovations. So we talked at great length about this all last year, and we decided to wait until we know more about whether we're going to get this grant or not. Unfortunately, we won't know until June, but I was hoping to keep it on your radar now that we've answered the fire levy question about keeping Fire Station 211. I still think that we need to fix it because it continues to leak and the floor continues to leak, and we can't just leave it like that. So I know that you guys wanted us to wait until June, which we can. I was hoping to keep it on your radar so that maybe we can talk about it again at the July meeting, once we know if the Senate has included it in their budget or not.
Comments, questions? I am in favor of continuing to move forward with this. I would definitely like it to be on the agenda. Whether we get funds from the state to help offset it, or we need to finance it ourselves or borrow the money, since the fire levy passed, definitely I feel like this board should move forward with renovations to our headquarters. The public was very generous in passing our fire levy and saying we want a fully funded fire department. And part of that was saving that fire station. So I feel like we should listen to the voters and the residents and move forward with it. Just figure out what funding mechanism we have for it. So let's keep it moving. Okay. Any other thoughts about that? Or?
I think we should talk about it in July.
And it sounds like you're saying do it whether we get any help from the state, our state taxes or not. And I'm not, I mean, it was a small turnout for the election. It was a narrow victory, and that was better than losing. But I don't see a clear mandate in there at all on either side. So I'm still saying call a timeout, don't punt it, don't go for it until we have a better financial plan for what we're going to do to fund every department. And so I look forward to the discussion that you keep talking about wanting to have. So
Okay.
we can have it anytime you want to.
Okay.
But at least we have a little bit of a conversation about the additional revenues in 12 months from now. Although it's still a short-term fix. When you think of 5 years, it won't make it 5 years unless we do something on the spending side. So, anyway.
Okay. Great. Okay, next item.
Election results. So, as we talked about earlier, we had one levy pass and one levy fail. So, and as I had spoken to all of you separately, individually, we looked at shifting the money from the safety services to the police department for now, for 2027. We also handed out all these proposed cuts that we could make, and I didn't know if you guys have given any more thought to how you would like to see that. Should we, because one failed and one passed, do we still need to do some budget cuts? And if so, and this might be a question for later in a workshop, but do we need to make cuts just to that department, or do we need to make cuts township-wide? I didn't know if you guys had thought about any of that more. And if you want to have a budget meeting to discuss that, then that's probably a proper place to do it.
Thoughts on the board? Well, I said all along, at least to yourself and Assistant Administrator Goins, that if we were to lose one of our levies, and since the police levy did fail, if we needed to maintain spending, I don't want to punish the fire department by taking away all of the safety service money, because when that was originally passed, it was passed to fund both the police and the fire.
Okay.
That's one opinion. I don't want to speak for the other two trustees. That wouldn't be right. But I've been thinking about this since last Tuesday, What could we do? How can we save jobs? I don't want to cut jobs, but if that's what it takes to make money last, I don't want to punish one department that was able to pass their levy and then them be struggling. So all this needs to be looked at, like what revenue will be generated. I think you had some good ideas as far as some cost reductions in the policy manual, as well as other cost reductions that we talked about. That could keep us from losing jobs, cutting jobs. So I think maybe that's probably the route to go now. But I'm not 100% thrilled about moving all the safety service money over to the police department. And only because I don't want to, our department, worked very hard to get the levy passed. I'm not saying the police didn't work hard, I'm just saying, like, every time I drove down the street, there was a firefighter knocking on someone's door. They worked very hard, and I think the public told us that if they had to pick one levy, they were going to pass that one. And so, again, I don't want to punish them by winning their levy. So, again, it's my opinion, and if the other two trustees don't feel that way and they want to convince me otherwise, I'm happy to have that discussion, and I'm happy to be influenced off of that, as long as we can have an open discussion and talk about it, and as a board, come to a consensus.
Okay.
So that's where I stand on Thursday, May 4th, 4/27.
Fair enough.
Well, I think that, I see your point, and I understand that too, but I think all of us understand the value of both departments. And I think that there's some very good ideas in that packet that we can explore that can maybe help us with both some reasonable cost reductions and also some income generating things too. Because there were some good ideas in there about that. I don't know that either one of you would want to penalize or that you want to win over. I think both of you respect each other's departments and you respect the work that each other happen to do. So if there's a way that we can come up with some sort of a win-win situation where we're maybe shifting some of those, shifting some of the safety services money, maybe not all of it, but enough to buy us a little bit more time to get down the road, a little bit further down the road with police, I think you would be open to that. I don't think you want to see their department be decimated. I don't think anyone wants that. And I think that you all would be willing to make appropriate decisions to help support police move forward because you support each other. I mean, you never know when you're going to come upon a scene and a fireman's going to get stabbed or something. So we need each other. We need each other to be there. And I think that we should take a look at it and see the best way to kind of move it forward because I can't cut off my arm. I mean, we're together in this. So I'd really like to look at how we could possibly make that work so that we can both keep what we have. I don't know if that means looking at another police levy down the road. That's something to think about. But, when you look at that, it was only 250 votes. It's really not a lot. That's just not a lot. So I think we need to look into that a little bit more. And I think that I'd like the two of you to kind of think about how you would like to see the money go. And maybe there is a way where we can keep everything intact or at least push us down the road a little bit further. Just my thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I would agree with you, but I think there's a nice marriage of those two things, right? There might have to be some cuts and transfer of money. But there's got to be some sort of acknowledgement of what the voters did say last week to say, okay, well, if we were to put it back in November, we can't guarantee it would pass, obviously.
Right.
So we should prepare ourselves now for it not passing. Maybe we might have to make some sort of, cost reductions to make sure that the safety service money that we are going to be transferring over, if the police levy doesn't pass the next time it comes around, that money lasts less longer. So,
Makes sense.
yeah, it's just, but the three of us and the department heads need to have serious discussions about what the ramifications of last Tuesday are and how can we make our township thrive. And so if and believe me, both departments I know are run very lean. I mean, we know that we're understaffed even before the election. We know that we could use another 3 to 4 officers. We know that we could use another 3 or 4 firefighters. But at some point, we need to make sure that we're fiscally able to continue to have those forces. So, yeah, I think,
There's only this much, and that's all we have.
right.
We have to figure out how to best allocate that.
Right. But I'm very proud of the work. I talked with both of the departments on their strategy, worked with them, answered questions I could do. But very proud of the work that they put in. So thank you both very much. Trustee McAfee, any thoughts?
I think we need to make some serious cuts, and we need to make them as quick as we can, and we put it off too long now. We talked about last month about overtime. We need to stop that. If not eliminate it all, at least eliminate most of it. We don't get any additional money for another year. The more we spend out of the general fund or any other account, is less we have going forward. So I think that would be a first to do. I think we ought to eliminate all the unfilled positions in the whole township, whatever they may be, service zone, whatever, front office. I think we need to look at all that stuff and not just look at it, but make some serious changes to what's happening as soon as possible. I don't like it, but, we spent ourselves into this situation. Again, a small voter turnout, a small victory, a small defeat. I'm willing to put the police levy back on in November. I would make it a 5-year renewable so people could have some end in sight. And that was one of the complaints I heard. And of course, people ask me, what are these going to pay for? And I would say, well, I haven't seen anything printed, and I asked last time about it. I saw no literature from either department on, and I mean, nothing in the mail. So to me, I'm not sure what commitment we made to the voters by either one of those. And we had an article in the paper which had misprints, misinformation, and I would guarantee you most people didn't read that anyway. But still, what commitment did we make to the voters, the citizens, with the election results? What's our commitment?
What's the commitment from the trustees?
Yeah, I mean, really, did we say we're going to, actually, we didn't say anything. We made no statement about we're going to fill our open positions, we're going to grow our staff, we're going to fix our building. We made nothing as a board. And when I asked about the information going out prior to the election, I got very little information. Actually, nothing written so that I could share with people that I know to say, these are the things we're looking at.
So I would have to go over the minutes, Trustee McAfee, but I believe that the discussion that we had was to continue the current level of service.
That would be our hope, which means what? Are we going to fill the open positions, or that would not be the current level? You know what I'm saying?
So, yeah, and that's a discussion this board would have to have as far as, are we filling all the open spots, or are we going to work with our chiefs to determine what is the best, most complete force that we have? So I think it was, the intent was until the levy passes or fails, till we know, we weren't going to fill empty positions. I think that,
Because we couldn't afford them.
right. So I think that what our staffs, what our department heads and our firefighters and our police officers took from that was if they could get a levy passed, those positions would be replenished. I don't think anybody took any whiff of a thought that we were looking to expand what we had. It was because I thought we asked the administrator, what millage do we need to restore our approved levels? I don't know that the police ever got to the approved level. Chief, is that correct? Like,
We did not.
we never were able to fill empty positions, right? So, but it was, what millage would the voters have to pass in order for us to get our fire department back up to board-approved staffing levels and for both the police and fire?
And that number that the administrator worked very hard on and gave us included the safety service money being split in some fashion.
In some fashion.
So again, I don't think we fill any positions. I never really liked that word authorized, but I mean, I think we need to sit right where we're at. I think we need to eliminate overtime, which we talked about. We're still in a financial crisis. I don't want to see a devastating effect on the police department, but you know, we need to have a longer-term plan that has to, in order to pass it and sustain it, has to have cuts. And I would say, again, that's across the board: zoning, fiscal office, police and fire, safety service.
Central office.
Excuse me?
Central office?
Well, only 2 people in that, so, right?
No, there's 6
6?
here in this administration.
Well, fiscal, I said fiscal, that's 2.
I'm sorry.
Fiscal office, 2. Zoning,
Okay.
that's 2. And it doesn't leave but a couple more, but right. I think across the board, we need to find ways to make those cuts.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts, and I would agree that we need to look and see if is areas that we could cut some things. It's hard pressed for me to see where we could cut anything out of our administrative office. Like, we've got 1 or 2 people doing the work of other departments, other municipalities and townships may have 10 people working in this department.
Well, and they probably have a little more money than we have too, so.
Well, of course they do,
So
but they're doing the
I don't
same
like
work.
what I'm saying, but if we got 2 in zoning, then we go to 1. We got 2 in fiscal office, we go to 1. So, I mean, how else are we going to do it? We're not going to get a police levy passed unless we make some cuts. And we can make those devastating cuts to the police department, or we can try to find ways across the board to. And again, we're setting that, I don't know, $1 million maybe for overtime this year?
But there is language in our policy that we're going to talk about later that we could pass that says the administrator has to approve of all overtime. And then we could tell the administrator, don't approve any overtime. Like, we have the authority to do that. So in a way.
Well, and again, that's something we need to do.
Right. So it's on the docket later, the agenda later, to talk about that. Those are recommendations that she has made.
I think a lot of those recommendations should be enacted.
But I love this banter. I think it's important that we have these discussions instead of just hiding behind a rock and hoping they go away, because they're not. So these are important discussions, and I'm glad that we were able to move the meeting so that all 3 of us could be here to have these discussions. And I agree with you, Trustee McAfee. I believe there probably does need to be some sort of cost reduction in some of our departments. I don't know what that is yet. Some recommendations were made to us based on a 5 or a 10 or a 15 or whatever percent. And we should look at those things, and I think we can. But also think that the recommendations that the administrator is making on the handbook may offset some of those expenses that we don't have to make those cuts. So, but I think this has got to be a fluid discussion that we have. Of course, the fire levy passed, but we're not going to start collecting that money right away.
Next year.
Yeah, but we're not getting it this year. So.
We're not getting it this year.
Yeah, we'll get it a year from now, 11 months from now.
Well, it'll be in fiscal year 27.
So I am really looking forward to sitting with the numbers and using the numbers to help drive our decision. Because opinions are one thing, but data and numbers are facts. And I think that the best way to proceed is by taking a good look at the numbers, getting a good look at what our actual expenses are going to be, maybe with some cost reductions, maybe with some revenue generating things, and that we drive to make decisions based on numbers and on facts and on data, and not necessarily on opinions or what we might feel. So I'm really looking forward to getting more information on this, getting information based on some of the revenue generating ideas that we had. Potentially some cuts, I don't know. But I think that we need to let the numbers drive that decision. And let's see what we can do, because I am very grateful to the voters that they were able to give us that we did get the one passed, because that made a completely different discussion tonight. They also passed the larger of the two, and I'm very grateful for that as well. So I think that puts a completely different light on this entire situation. If neither one would have passed, we'd be having a much harder conversation right now. Not that this isn't a hard conversation, but I think that the number one thing we need to do is keep our heads, look at the numbers, and let the numbers tell us the best way to proceed, or whatever that is.
Yeah, and I did look at the Board of Elections site, and I believe the turnout was not extremely low turnout. In fact, many districts had over a 40% voter turnout. Some mid-20s, very few under 20%. I know that when you're talking about percentage, that sounds low, but for an election, that's not terribly low of registered voters.
Well, into a little bit more data on that is that I believe the number that I heard, the anticipated projection overall was going to be 17%. Yeah. So if we did better than that in some of our districts, you can take that for whatever you think.
There were 4 reasons for that.
I know which 4 you're talking about.
Yes, there were 4. But again, you figure, and we're considerably higher registered than most jurisdictions, even though we're very small, stuck here in the middle of everything. But I still think November, I'm willing to go to the ballot in November with the police levy and let the 60% of people that are going to come and vote, maybe we get enough. But again, a lot of that has to do with the information put out and how it's put out.
Well, thank you both for the discussion on this. I think this is very healthy. You want something else?
Yeah, and I just want to say it's not because that's the way I feel about it. It's because I've looked at the numbers, okay?
Yeah. But thank you for your open, honest discussion. I definitely think that talking over with the administration, we'll have to figure out how we can make the numbers work and what's best moving forward. And maybe several different scenarios could be presented to us. Maybe if we can meet also individually with the administrator, she can present different scenarios. And we should have that discussion. I think we have a late June meeting,
Well, and that's to jump on that, that's what I'm looking for, is not necessarily our current numbers, but if we were to enact some of the different cost reductions and also some of the revenue stream improvement ideas that you mentioned to me, how that's going to impact this overall information. Because I think there are some things that have been suggested that can make some, that can change this up a little bit. So I'm looking for some modeling, some financial modeling to see what those different scenarios might look like.
Yeah, and to your point, Trustee McAfee, you're right. I mean, I don't know, obviously, I don't think that fully staffing the police department at this time would be prudent because the levy didn't pass. So maybe if there's more officers that decide to leave us because we didn't pass the levy, and they're thinking, wow, greener pastures may be elsewhere, we should discuss whether we're replacing them, right? That's discussions we should have. But it might be that we're losing people through attrition, not that we're laying them off, but the fact that, wow, I mean, my community didn't pass the police levy, I'm going to go someplace else where they do support financially the levy, the police department. And so if we lose those members of our department, then we should have that discussion whether we are replacing them. And there's where maybe some of our cuts could come from. Not really laying people off as much as, hey, we're just not going to refill it until we find out what happens.
Well, and the other side to that coin too is then we have to look at staffing levels and the number of people that we would want, because that's going to directly impact overtime.
Of course.
And that goes for both police and fire.
course.
So just keep, I know you already know
course,
that, but
yeah.
we got to keep that in mind.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Ms. Lipinski, thank you so much for putting everything together. I know this was quite the task. So-
I will provide multiple scenarios. I'll get with the department heads, and then we'll try to put our heads together on providing you guys some choices.
Well, I definitely think some of the discussions, recommendations that you made to the policy manual does save us, not millions of dollars, but does
Right.
save us substantial money. So I think those are great, and I'll look forward to that discussion later in the agenda.
Yeah, and just, if you guys, I think I sent it to you in an email, and I can make you copies again, but I sent out that email where it talked about reduction in costs, and then I broke it down by the different departments and what it cost us for each one of those things as we go through the personnel manual. So you can see the actual costs.
So as we're going through the personnel manual, if there are items on your spreadsheet here that are not covered under that, will you just address them
Yep.
as we do that? Okay. Perfect. Great. Okay, we'll move on to communication. This is a portion of the meeting where you, the residents of Fairfield Township, are invited to share your thoughts with the board. Please know that this time has been set aside from the board to listen to you. Your comments are valued and will be taken into careful consideration. The board will not engage in dialogue at this time, and presentations are limited to 3 minutes. I think the first two people were our presenters before, so that was Joe and Jeff, so we're going to move past them. And we'll move on to Mr. Paul Yeckel.
Seems like I'm the designated citizen to speak at these meetings anymore.
You just like
Maybe we need to do something. Somebody needs to do something over at Lakewood. I don't know. I enjoyed listening to the comments that were made here today. I had a few thoughts on the election. First of all, I want to say both the police department and the fire department did an outstanding job of making their case to the voters. There couldn't have been a better case made. And personally, as a resident, I've lived here 20 years. I don't necessarily feel comfortable with my police force going out, making the case. I think it's more socially acceptable maybe for fire departments to do it. I'm from Pennsylvania, and it wasn't unusual we had a lot of volunteer fire departments, and they would have carnivals and dunking booths, and it was a good time. We didn't really have a police carnival because police, although they are safety services and first responders, they have a very different function in our community. And I don't feel necessarily comfortable that they would campaign in the same way. So in thinking about that, and that's just a thought I had about the campaign. I thought both departments did an outstanding job of making the case. But here's my perception of it. The township asked for a grand total of 3 plus 4, that's 7.5 mills, which would have doubled the amount of property tax that people pay in the township. People paid attention to that. And there were 2 levies, and they selected one. And luckily, they selected the one that you got 2/3 of the township got 2/3 of the money that was asking for. And we talk about police officers and cutting police officers. When you cut police officers, let's say you lost 7 police officers, you still need to cover shifts. Okay, I think Walmart requires 3 police officers as it is. And I say that jokingly, but this is a comment people were making. It's like, why can't, and I don't know the ins and outs of all that, but perception's reality. When you're a voter, you don't know all the ins and outs of how the police work, but it seems like if the police are spending a lot of time cleaning up Walmart problems, then they're like, well, why can't Walmart pay for all this? It's just an optics thing, but it is something I think that should be considered. Also, we have to consider, too, we have the fire, police, and the roads and infrastructure department, Mr. Bennett's department, and we want to make sure we're not bleeding them dry as well. So just a few thoughts kind of to wrap up. You also have the school district levy, and I mentioned that before. The school district levy absolutely probably crushed the police levy. I'm not going to lie about that. That was a large ask, and that's coming back to the ballot in November. And when you're thinking about, to go with the police in November, that's going to come back again. And I don't know what they're going to come up with, because in November, you're going to have a lot more passive voters. And when I say passive voters, you have to keep in mind, a lot of the people that came out in this election here, you talk about the turnout, you had a lot of teachers, PTA, Tempo Club, all of those people were coming out, and they're pretty pro-civic. They're going to, yes, fire, yes, police, yes. You're going to have a lot of people that are going to be coming out in November. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. We already passed 4.5 for the fire department and 2 for DD. Now the schools are back. So in your discussion and deliberation, I'm not opposed to the police levy coming back, but just realize I think there's going to be significant headwinds with the school coming back and with the fact that the township voters already approved 6.5 mills. So, and again, just to wrap up, I voted for all 4 of you. I think this township does a great job. I've lived here 20 years. I don't envy the tasks that you have, but I just think there's a lot of things to consider about the voter psychology in this last election. So I wish you all the best of luck in coming to those solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yeckel. And I think you are the designated spokesman of the citizens in Fairfield Township. Okay, there's no one signed up. Anybody else wanted to speak? Okay. Okay, consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered by the Board of Trustees to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any trustee may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. No second is required for the removal of an item. Items removed for separate discussion will be considered after the motion to approve the consent agenda. This time, I move to adopt the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Birding?
Yes.
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
Trustee McAbey?
Yes?
That motion is adopted. May we have the first, fiscal officer report, please.
Yes. So I'm sure you guys have a printout of your balances.
Shelley, do you want to? Yeah, Michael.
Okay. 6.9 million in our checking. Medical has 221,000. Our JED revenue for Hamilton year to date is 246, and for Fairfield 98. Our investment balance is almost 13 million, and we earned 32,000 interest in April. EMS billings to date 338,000. Revenue to date 11.5 million. Expenditures to date, 8.6 million, and payments made in April is 1.4. So our fund balance right now for all funds is 20.3 million. The only other thing I wanted to mention is I won't be at the June meeting. That's all.
Any questions for Ms. Schultz? Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Schultz. Administrator report, Ms. Lepensi?
All right. First off is motions. So the first motion we have is to appoint myself, Kimberly Lepensi, to act as representative and Diane French to act as alternate representative to the Ohio Township Association Risk Management Authority of TARMA, which is our insurance company. I think what it means is we're just the liaisons between them and our jurisdiction or our government.
Motion to adopt?
Second. Any questions or comments? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Harkemaier.
Yes.
Trustee Birding.
Yes.
Trustee McAbey.
Yes?
That motion passes. May I have the next motion?
Motion to schedule the public hearing date of June 23rd, 2026 at 7 PM to discuss fiscal year 2027 budget.
Motion to adopt?
Second?
Any questions or comments? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Harkemaier.
Yes.
Trustee McAbey.
Yes?
Trustee Birding.
Yes. And that motion passes. Can we have the next motion, please?
Motion to authorize the township administrator to sign a natural gas contract with a supplier to be determined only if the price does not exceed Duke Energy Ohio's default gas cost at the time of signing for a term not to exceed 24 months. So in the previous meetings, we talked about electric aggregation. Now we need to talk about gas aggregation. So they are working on getting us an amount, but it may be where Duke Energy's gas price might be less than what we can get. And if that's the case, then we would just shift everybody off and put them on Duke's account and then check again, maybe by the end of the year, to see if the prices drop.
So if that were to happen, let's say they shift everyone back onto Duke, and then 8 months later, what have you, we find a better price, and then we have to pass a resolution, or you're able to sign it.
Yeah, I'm
Whatever.
able to sign it given this.
Okay, and then you sign it, does that then kick everybody back in, or does that only,
Yes, it's an everybody is in unless they opt out. That's the way the law is
so
written.
they would have to opt out again? Okay.
I know it's frustrating.
We make sure we have to communicate that to the residents, that if that were to happen and they get kicked out, they will be automatically opted back in were that to happen. So if we have a resolution coming up that changes status from being with Duke back to being in the aggregate, that we have to communicate that. I don't know how we do that. Some sort of, maybe even a mailer if we have to.
Well, it'll go out to them.
Yeah, the mailer goes out, but then you can also, too, every resident, just know that you also have the ability to call Energy Alliances and tell them that you never want to be included on any list, and they will never opt you in.
That's a great idea.
You can do that.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, every time we sign a new contract, you're back
Right.
in.
You're back
And you
in.
have to opt out.
Yeah, and I think if you opt out for so many years, then you're just out, and you're never put back in. Like, I don't know how many years it is.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah,
Positive?
yeah, I'm positive. I've dealt with it before.
And also, the township sees zero revenue from any of this.
No,
This is just a service we're providing
right.
that the
And,
voters voted in.
right, and the consultant gets paid based on, and I think they get so much money from either Duke Energy or whatever gas contractor it is. That's how they generate their money, and it's really not that much.
Well, with that being said, I move to authorize the administrator to sign such a contract.
Second?
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll?
Trustee Birding.
Yes.
Trustee McAbey.
Yes?
Trustee Harkemaier.
Yes.
That motion passes. Can we have this first resolution, please?
Resolution number 26-45 is a resolution designating Fairfield Township roads for bid on the attached retrace estimate list, which is attachment A, to be certified for funding upon the awarding of contract as determined by the Butler County Engineers Office with a cost not to exceed $14,711.34.
Motion to adopt?
Second? Any questions or comments? I think as a board, we should start looking at that if that's something that we want to have these roads on not an annual replacement, but at least some sort of cycle. If that's one of the areas that we could potentially save money, we should talk about that if it's not an automatic every year we're doing this.
And we don't do it every year, but
I thought it was every year.
I think it's every other year.
Yeah, I
We
think
did it
it's
last
just
year.
Did we?
Different roads every year.
different roads are,
Oh.
yeah.
Or roads or maybe one road. It just kind of depends.
We need to do what the roads that need to be done.
Sure, so it's not the same roads every year? Okay. Thank you for correcting me, because I assumed it was the same.
Yeah, I did too.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bennett. I appreciate that.
Especially on Morris Road, when it gets dark. No street lights, really.
I don't go out after dark. Okay, we have a first and a second. Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee McAbey?
Yes?
Trustee Birding?
Yes.
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
That resolution is adopted. Can we have the next resolution, please?
Resolution number 26-50 is a resolution authorizing the administrator to execute all necessary documents to renew the township's coverage with Otarma through Risk Source Clark Theaters Insurance Agency at a cost of $242,649, which will be effective June 1st, 2026 through May 31st, 2027.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
We have all of our vehicles, all of our current property, everything's listed, up
Yes.
to date, new
It's up to
routes,
date. The
all
only
that
thing
stuff.
that got left off last year was the Pocket Park on Milton. So I'm working with them right now to get a cost for that.
It's not included in this number.
Right.
Is there a way to trim that number down, raising the deductible, or can you explore any alternatives with that? You don't have to do it before this
Get rid of
resolution.
vehicles.
Excuse me?
Get rid of vehicles.
Yeah, we should get rid of vehicles.
That's the
And we
only way
should
to
quit-
trim
We
it.
should quit crashing vehicles, too.
Well, I think that's one thing that we can look at with the budget. Potentially, if we could, when we're replacing vehicles, not do a one-to-one. I think that would eliminate some. So that's something we should talk about at our budget meeting. Okay, we had a first and a second. Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee McAbey?
Yes?
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
Trustee Birding?
Yes, and that resolution is adopted. May we have the next resolution, please?
Resolution 26-51 is a resolution dispersing $564,260.61 from the tax increment financing districts from fund numbers 2904, 2906, 2908, and 2910 for distribution of TIF monies collected to the Fairfield City School District.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So which TIFs are these? Could you give us more detail?
Yeah, so 2904 is Story Point, 2906 is Princeton Road, 2908 is Seward, and 2910 is Bridgewater. So if you look at the resolution, sorry. So the 353 is based on 25% collection. So if you look at the attached, you can see in the Princeton Road TIF, we collected $1,437,543.43. So 25% of that money is the 359. And the Gilmore Road Story Point, we collected $153,308. So we owe the schools 25% of that. For Seward Road and for Bridgewater, we have to pay the schools the whole amount, which is 62.3%. So for Seward, we collected $735,090.75. And then for the Bridgewater TIF, we collected $69,036.45. So you can see the breakdown, and that's how we got to the $564,260.61.
So the Princeton Road TIF is expiring soon,
2031.
and we renewed it, right? And when we renewed it, we made the schools whole on that renewal.
Right.
So once the current one runs out at 25%, the renewal, they'll get the 60 whatever percent,
62.3.
right? Okay. Just want to be clear, because I know there were some misconceptions out there about what was going on last fall. There was some suggestion that we were taking money away from the schools, and I just want to be clear that when we renewed it, we said we're making them whole on the renewal. So once this current one runs out, I keep doing that. Maybe I should use glasses.
And we didn't make them whole. That's what the law is. So
Right, the law
We had no
requires it.
choice.
Well, but we renewed it and made them whole. We weren't taking money
Right.
away from
It was not a unanimous vote to renew it, by the way.
them. Okay, so we had a first and a second. Ms. Schultz, you call the roll, please.
Trustee Mackabee,
Yes.
Trustee Harkemaier,
Yes?
Trustee Birding,
Yes, and that resolution is adopted. May we have the next resolution, please?
Resolution 26-52 is a resolution authorizing payment of $536,795.52 to the Butler County Finance Authority as outlined in the development agreement for Seward Road development, which is paid from the Seward Road TIF, which is 2908.
Motion to adopt?
Second, any comments or questions?
You
There's
want
an,
to give us a breakdown on that one?
yeah, I was going to say, there's an attachment to that. So we send this to the Butler County Finance Authority to have them tell us what we owe, because it's a very complicated agreement. But basically, we owe, the net service payment that we owe is $536,795.52. So you can see the breakdown on, I think it's page 3 of the agreement. It's under Table 1, Summary of Township Received Payments, and then it breaks it down by the Duke parcel that we have in that TIF, which we still receive the whole amount, and then we owe the schools a certain portion of that TIF based on that parcel. And then the other parcels are the Nyer properties. Those are the ones where we collect the money, and then we have to send it to the Butler County Finance Authority. And then if you look down under Table 2, there's a school district payment that's made, there's bond expenses, then there's an amount payable to the developer, and then there's an amount payable back to the township. Not really sure why we have to give the money and get paid back. I don't understand that part, but nonetheless, we will get $26,000 back once we make the payment. And that's twice a year as well.
Thank you. Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Harkemaier,
Yes?
Trustee Birding,
Yes,
Trustee Mackabee,
Yes.
that resolution is adopted. May we have the next resolution?
Resolution 26-53 is a resolution authorizing payment of $19,520.06 to basis companies as outlined in the development agreement for the Bridgewater development paid from the Bridgewater TIF 2910.
I move to adopt Resolution 26-53.
Second?
Any discussion or questions?
So we received, in the first half of the tax settlement, we received $69,036.45. Of course, we just talked about the payment to the schools, which is $43,009.71, which means we have $26,026.74 left over. We owe 75% of that to the Bridgewater basis, which is the developer for the Bridgewater area. It's not Bridgewater, what do we call it again, Chuck? Bridgewater Landing. I always get that. So Bridgewater Landing, we owe the 75% back. So that accounts for the $19,520.06.
Was that to develop the road?
Yes.
Great.
And then I guess all the utilities too, probably.
And that leaves us with $6,747
No, yeah.
and 71
Sorry.
cents.
Yes.
Sorry.
So, and you can see if the attachment, total paid to date is $37,000, but it looks like the agreement, we owe them up to $500,000.
Okay, Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Birding,
Yes?
Trustee Harkemaier,
Yes.
Trustee Mackabee,
Yes.
And that resolution is adopted. Maybe the next resolution, please.
Resolution number 26-54 is a resolution authorizing the township administrator to execute an employment agreement with Deontay Tipton.
Motion to adopt?
Second, any questions or comments? Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee McAbey?
Yes.
Trustee Birding?
Yes.
Trustee Harkemaier?
Yes.
That resolution is adopted. May we have final resolution, please?
Resolution 26-55 is a resolution amending Articles 4, 5, and 6 of the Personnel Manual for Fairfield Township. This is a first reading with an option to approve. Through this. So what I did is I went through the manual, and based on the spreadsheets that I provided to you and some cuts, and based on some discussions, I came up with the changes to the Personnel Manual. I also created an executive summary of all the proposed changes. So, and I'll just go through that real quickly. So under wages and benefits, we added section F and a G under employee compensation. And we just wanted to make sure that the employees were aware that we have the legal right to make certain deductions from their paychecks, which include taxes, retirement contributions, garnishments, et cetera. And section G was added to state that if mistakes are made by the township regarding their paychecks, the employees have an obligation to report those errors to the township so that they can be corrected in a timely manner. We obviously have the obligation to report it as well, but there is an expectation from the employee that they also have to report it if they see a mistake, so that it doesn't keep repeating itself. Under section 4.02 overtime, section A was revised to state that the township administrator must approve all overtime. As we talked about in the past, it was intended to eliminate all or most of the overtime that has been occurring over the past year. In 2025, we spent $688,450.77. So but I will clarify that in some instances, it may be necessary to have some overtime. I don't think we can fully go away from the police department not having overtime just because of the court time. Because I don't know of any other way we would handle that if we didn't.
No, that's contractual, and that's the right thing to do. Some of these guys come in from midnights.
Right.
We shouldn't be scheduling overtime in the regular schedule. That shouldn't be happening.
Right, but I don't think you're scheduling it,
No,
right? It's yeah.
I understand that, but I'm just saying that this is going to address that, right?
Yeah. So I guess we'll have to develop some kind of thing between all of us. If it were to arise, like you guys are going to have to let me know, and we'll have to have a discussion about it.
In advance.
Yeah.
If I may add, as an example, we had an aggravated robbery on Tuesday, and we tracked the suspect down. The suspect cut the complainant in the arm, took $50 from him, and that required immediate action. We were able to put everything together, and it required, I believe, just maybe one, maybe two people coming in on overtime. So we would have enough people to do the warrant. So we got the warrant, we recovered evidence, a lot of evidence. And so that would be, for us, a last minute, or someone getting sick for shift coverage. But that would be a last minute event. It's not a big deal for me to let her know.
Right, I mean, obviously, for emergency services.
Sure.
I think is obviously required. Sure. Right. So I think the board is just saying, like, if it's avoidable.
Oh, trust me.
Like, let's run it through the administrator, let her know, so that, because she's got pretty much a directive from us, let's eliminate as much overtime as humanly possible.
Understood.
To try to stretch the money. So I think, obviously, instances like that, Chief, the protection of our citizens outweigh the overtime needed.
Absolutely. Thank you.
But nonetheless, we'll all put our heads together and figure out
Right.
a way that we're going to make it work, like how we're going to communicate with each other to make it work. Section E was revised to pay out all comp time earned in a year by the end of the year. The previous wording allowed for a 180-day carryover. The way we've done it in other places is we always just, you allow comp time throughout the year, and if they can't, you want to encourage them to use it, but if they can't use it, it just gets paid out at the end of the year so we can start the year fresh. Section H was added to the manual. This allows for 2 hours of overtime to be paid if you're called back into work after completing your workday. In the past, we've been paying 4 hours of callback time, call-out time. I don't really know where the 4 hours came from because it was never in our manual. I think, from what I understand, it came from either the fire contract or the police contract. I'm not really sure. But 'cause yours is what, 3 and 4? Like they get certain 3 hours of call-in, and then if it's court, it's 4 hours. So it's a different amount. So do you know where you guys got that number from?
I believe you're correct, I think.
Okay.
It's, all the way back to when Mr. Ray was administrator, from my understanding.
Okay. Section I was added to the manual, so employees will be paid overtime for mandated attendance at events regardless of whether they have completed a 40-hour work week. And I know we had eliminated events this year, but if we ever have them in the future, at least gives some incentive for the employee to come to work and if they get called back in for overtime for events. Under Section 404 retirement plan, we just made it clear, Section C was revised to make it clear that all part-time firefighters are required by law to participate in Social Security instead of OPERS. It used to be years ago where they were in OPERS, and then OPERS made the change, I don't know, sometime in like 2010, 90s. So you can be a medic and be in OPERS, but if you're a firefighter and an EMT or a firefighter and a medic, you have to be in Social Security. Section 406 insurance. So I had several sections on this. You guys can tell me whether you agree with it or not. Sections C through G were added to the policy manual that relates to health insurance. Sections C's, D, and E are current practices. Section F would allow the employee or officer to decline health care coverage in exchange for an incentive. The incentive amount was derived by computing 25% of the total cost of the premium set aside by the township each month for a family plan. This incentive would begin in January of 2027. Section G could be removed if we get some good participation in the incentive program. If we can't get employees to participate, then we could implement Section G by 2028. So Section F is the incentive, which is up to $400 a year, or $400 a month, $4,800 a year. And then Section G would be to eliminate spousal coverage. So if your spouse does not have insurance somewhere else. So it's not really how I would like to do it, but if we can't get some good participation with incentives, maybe that's something we have to do to cut costs. I put in there that we would implement it by 2028, and the reason is because right now we still have 2 outstanding union contracts, and they don't get renegotiated till 2027. So I think we kind of have to set the thing in motion, but yet we may not be able to put it in our manual until then. Section 408, longevity pay. Longevity pay was also added to the manual. It was never in the manual, so I'm not really sure how we were paying it. But regardless, I think what was happening is we were following the fire contract. We did have a resolution that we found from 2000. It had your name on it. And anyway, it got it added to the manual, and it just basically follows the same practice that we've been doing. Section 409, employee cell phone reimbursement. This section was added because we currently do not have a policy for cell phone allowances, and we do not specify who is to receive them and who is not. Basically, the policy just establishes that if your job duties include a frequent need for a cell phone, you may receive reimbursement. We currently give allowance to the following employees: all of the public works employees, 4 employees in the police department, and 1 in the fire department. My opinion is it's kind of hard to determine who needs it and who doesn't, because I think we all use our cell phones for work. I know I use it all the time. I know I text her all the time. Like, I text you guys all the time. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to say who doesn't and who does. I don't know. I don't know if you guys want to maybe at our budget, maybe sit down and try to figure out who do you think, is it just department heads? Is it, like, I've seen some places where it's only department heads. I don't know where to go with that.
I'm sure that was going way back to when not everybody had a cell phone. So to
Okay.
encourage them or to help them, deal with it, I'm sure that was it. So I'm in favor of
Okay.
eliminating that altogether.
Right, because I mean, we're all
Everybody
gonna
has
have, we're all gonna have a phone regardless.
Right.
I mean, that was the other thing that I made, is like, whether we receive it or not, we all still will have a personal cell phone. It's not gonna change the
Right.
fact that we won't. I mean, I'm still gonna keep mine regardless, but
Can
I don't know how you
add something
guys
to
feel
that?
about it. What's that?
Can I add something to that?
Yep.
Yeah, myself and I think Captain Lanier has said that we would give ours up. We have two detectives who are in contact with suspects that I would rather not have. Them have
Well,
their
in
cell-
that case, we pay for their cell phones, right? Like,
We have two cell phones.
Right,
In addition
for-
to their personal.
right, and for
Yeah.
that reason.
Yes, for that reason.
So we pay for those two, but I don't think we need to subsidize anybody else's cell phone.
And we do have a supervisor phone that is basically assigned to, not the car, but the person driving a supervisor's car.
Are we paying for that one too?
Yes.
So, I can't remember how many phones are on that cell phone plan, but
The captain and I get a reimbursement, or not a reimbursement, but a
it's
stipend.
like an allowance, yeah.
It's an allowance, yeah. I mentioned in an email, I was, well, give that up.
Okay, good.
Not much.
So, Ms. Lepensky, line B, or item B of that cell phone reimbursement says the township will not purchase, own, or provide wireless phones, but
Yeah.
we can't do that.
Right, we're gonna have to cross that out, because I forgot about them having the phones. Okay.
So if you update that, I
Okay.
think Trustee McAfee has a point that we could then eliminate the reimbursement portions of C, or if it just says, C, the township will not reimburse employees for cell phone.
Like cross it out altogether?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just don't include that.
Okay.
okay. Got it. Okay, absences and leaves. So under section 5.01 holidays, section A, I would like to add Columbus Day as a list of holidays we were given in a year. This does not cost us any additional money. Section D eliminates double time for part-time employees who work holidays. This would save us roughly $28,000 a year. Under vacation leave, 5.02, this chart of vacation leave accrual dates back, I guess we changed it in 2020. The township used to give all the vacation up front, and it was changed to a biweekly accrual rate, but I couldn't find anywhere that you guys actually approved that change. So that's why I italicized it in the manual. I'm not asking to change it in any way, shape, or form, but it was, you guys never approved it, as far as I can tell. So basically, it's just an accrual, like, per so many hours per biweekly pay.
How does that allow them to use it? I know the fiscal office likes tracking it like that.
Most fair way. You work your 2 weeks, you get 1/26th of a day. You do not get to use it your first year, so at the end of your first year, you'll have your 2 weeks to use the following year.
So 1 year and 1 month, how much time can I use?
The 2 weeks you accrued the year before.
I can't use the 1 1/4 that I just accrued?
Yes, you can after that first year.
That was a trick question. So I was trying to get you to say that after the first year, I can use it as I go
As you go, yes, after the first year. Because
With-
you're working the prior 2 weeks to accrue.
with my manager's approval.
Section F was changed to permit 80 hours of vacation to be cashed out each year once you go beyond 1 year's worth of carryover. In prior years, we have paid out up to 5 weeks of vacation each year for everyone who had already accrued 5 weeks each year. This benefit will cap out starting in 2027 with the payout to happen at the end of each year. This change will save the township about $10,000 a year. Just on a note, the police contract allows for 1 year or 1 week of vacation payout. The fire contract, I do not believe, says it's silent, so obviously they follow ours. So we will have some costs associated with that, but right now we pay out about $40,000 a year in vacation payouts. So I know it's probably, it's not going to be so great for the people that it would eliminate it for, but at the same time, I want to encourage people to use their vacation time.
That will encourage them to
Yeah,
use it.
getting paid out for it. Sick leave and injury leave, Section B was added to eliminate the cap of 960 hours of sick leave. This will eliminate the sick leave payouts from occurring in the future. I would request that this begin in 2028 because we will have to negotiate this with the police and fire over this elimination of this benefit in their contracts in 2027. But if we did implement it, this change would save us about $40,000 a year in sick leave payouts. Sick leave conversion, I propose that we eliminate Section B from the manual because we have eliminated the payout of sick leave each year. This would allow all the employees who came here from other entities to be able to be paid out some of their sick leave upon retirement instead of just being what you earn from Fairfield Township. Because right now in the manual, there is actually a section in there that says you can only earn or get paid out what you earn in Fairfield Township. And if we're paying out sick leave every year, that means nobody's ever earning anything from Fairfield Township. So this would allow people to, actually get some payout when they retire. We have 7 employees at the cap each year that receive sick leave payouts. Technically, all the hours they are earning, what I just explained. Sick leave conversion will remain at the same at 50% of 960 hours. So even if we lifted the cap, at retirement, you're still doing the 50% at 960. But if you're going over the cap and you're earning sick leave, it's just a guarantee that you're going to get a paycheck in case something ever happens to you. If you get in a car accident or have to have surgery and you're off for an extended period of time, at least it's a guaranteed paycheck. 505 leave of absence without pay. This is the section that I had asked you all about and what your opinion was. I had added in here Section C was added to clarify that we will maintain health insurance during an unpaid leave of absence for up to 12 weeks and that all employees' health contributions must be paid biweekly. Any more thoughts to that? If we want to maintain that coverage or if we do not want to maintain that coverage? It varies across the board by township.
So let me just ask a question, if I may. So if we maintain the health insurance, if they're on paid leave, then they're paying the premium. If it's unpaid leave.
Right, they would have to pay us. They would have to write a
Okay.
check.
So make
Yeah.
sure that's clear. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What would be the reason for unpaid leave?
Oh, let's see, unpaid leave, if you went on, say you're in a grad school and you had to do an internship and you were gone for a certain period of time and you wanted to leave and come back, it's one thing that I could think of.
That would have to be approved by the board, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you went, you wanted to travel, you didn't have enough vacation and you still wanted to leave and come back.
Or Jeopardy. But if they did do that and we approved the unpaid leave, then they'd have to pay the full premium for their health insurance.
Well, that's what we need to decide. If they're paying the premium or we're maintaining it and they're only paying their employee portion. So that was the question.
Well, if they're traveling the world, they need to be paying it.
Okay.
Employees should pay them.
or some game show.
Okay, so I will change it so
Unpaid.
that,
Unpaid.
okay, all right, so I will change it so that it is that they would just go on Cobra, and then they could come back if, you know.
They may or may not come back if there's an opening.
Okay. 506 court leave, Section A was just changed to reflect the fiscal office instead of township clerk, because it was still the old reference. Employee conduct, use of township vehicles and equipment. Section D was changed to allow the township the ability to deny the use of our vehicles to anyone who has demonstrated reckless driving practices. This will be ascertained by acquiring everyone's driving records through the BMV, which the township is permitted to legally acquire by paying a $5 fee each year. We also get credits for performing those checks annually in our insurance premium. The township may also terminate employees for employment for individuals who fall into that category that are required to drive for us for a living. One thing I noted too is we will also need to determine who receives take-home vehicles. The current practice has been the following. The police chief, the police captain, we have 2 sergeants in the police department and 2 detectives, the fire chief, the assistant chief, and the administrative captain, and then public works director. But it should be noticed that you don't take your car home anymore, you park it. So he voluntarily parks his own car. He doesn't take it home anymore. The cost of vehicles range from $50,000 to $75,000, depending on what type of vehicle we purchase, with the maintenance cost at the high end of about $4,500, which include $500 for insurance, $2,500-ish for repairs, and $1,500 in fuel, depending on the age and type of the vehicle. The expectation of receiving a take-home vehicle has generally been that you are expected to respond to all emergencies from your house. And then under drug and alcohol testing, I think we've had this, we will need to have this discussion about how you guys want to continue with our drug and alcohol policy, whether you want to have a zero tolerance policy or you want to continue how it is written now with progressive discipline.
We have a zero policy now, don't we?
It's progressive discipline.
Thought we had a drug-free.
Well, in section 608, it says it's progressive discipline, and then 609 says drug-free. So it kind of like say both.
So we can pick which one.
Drug-free, which is why your discipline is imposed for drug testing, essentially. I mean, I don't think they're contradictory policies. Now, the progressive discipline, you as the trustees can decide the severity of the punishment, always under a progressive discipline policy, is what level you want to impose discipline at. I mean, that can be termination under the progressive discipline policy, or it can be something less than that. And that's certainly up to you. And that's, the policy provides that you could, put the employee into drug counseling or like rehabilitation services if you're inclined to go something less than termination for the first offense.
That's our current policy.
That's the current policy, yes.
So, Ms. Lipinski, could we have you meet with the departments, I'm just referring back to 6.03, about the absolute need for take-home vehicles?
Okay.
Could you determine with the department heads, like, why do you have to have a take-home vehicle? Do you respond to emergencies from home? And then we can have that further discussion about how we adjust the policy manual. Is that fair?
Maybe some data on that, so we could see how many times, how many calls they made and things like that.
Okay. I was gonna say, I have all their fuel costs. But yeah, looking into how many, I guess, would you guys have that information, like who came to what run? Since I don't have access to that.
And how many miles driven and things like that. I mean, they don't drive their township car once they get home, right? Right?
You're talking about if there's a call out, they do?
No, I mean, if, they gotta run the Kroger's.
You need one for
They
personal?
run the Kroger's and get fresh donuts or something.
Nope. Fresh donuts, why would you say that?
That's a police, fresh donuts.
Do I look like a fresh donut?
Does Kroger have fresh
I had to say it twice before you.
That's been my answer.
Okay, so this is a first read. Obviously, it's not ready for approval.
It's a really, really good start, though.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And maybe if we implement some of these things, then we can talk about cuts, additional cuts we can make and how much we do need to make.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think there's any doubt about what we have to do.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We'll move on to committee reports. TID, Trustee McAfee.
We didn't meet this month.
We have EMA and OKI and file. Trustee Harkemaier.
Let's see, EMA, we met earlier this week. They, we talked about different responses and different things that they did. Lots of good things happening at the EMA. Let's see, nothing to OKI. Just so you know, on June 5th at 4 p.m., that is when all of the grants applications are due.
Okay.
And that paving program that they had last year.
Oh, it's back.
I believe it's back.
Okay.
So if we could please research that and do what we need to do. If we can get some money for Princeton Road perhaps, because that's a collector road.
And they did change it for us, right?
As far as I know, if you
Okay.
look into it and you find out it didn't happen that way, let me make calls and get involved to
Okay,
double check and everything. But it is my understanding that last August that they changed Princeton Road to a collector road. Okay,
I
so.
know when we met with the county, they said that they would help us.
Yeah. But and then if you want to take a look at anything else at oki.org, please do, because there's all kinds of things in there that we could use. But the paving thing, there's not as much money in it this year as last year, from what I understand. But please, let's ask the question and maybe we can get something.
Okay.
Something's better than nothing.
It should be because the state just announced they collected like
I
$1.6
saw
billion
that.
extra in
Yep.
sales tax, or not extra, but more than they anticipated.
Give it to me for paving or first responders or, please. This is an AI in Government, OKI Government Forum, May 28th at 2 p.m. at OKI. I will, if anyone wants to, this is a session on that, I'll pass that to the administrator. If anyone wants to get more information on that, that's what it is. OKI is going to be supporting that. Let's see. Just general information, this doesn't necessarily apply to us, but just if anyone in the community that cares, OKI does work with rideshare, rideshare.oki.org, which helps to get a van pool. So if you know people that are van pooling or want to carpool downtown or to some place of work from Butler County, that is available, and I think there's, they pay like a certain amount for a van, and then you pay a little bit, but it's a good program. Another thing is that Milliken Road, the funding for the Milliken Road interchange happened. So it looks like the Milliken Road interchange will be moving forward. I'm going to be attending a meeting on that in June to learn more of the specifics of that. More of a Liberty Township thing, but given the fact that it comes all the way across to Fairfield Township, could impact us a little bit too. So more details on that to follow, and nothing to report on Clout.
Well, also, at OKI, groundbreaking on it.
The bridge, yep, the bridge. I understand it was very limited. They did not it was like very invitation only, so sadly I did not attend.
There was a lot of very invitation-only people there.
There was a lot of very invitation-only people there, so I was not on that invitation list.
Right.
But that did happen, so that's a really good thing for the tri-state overall, that that bridge is moving forward.
Great. Okay. Board member comments, Trustee McAfee? Okay. Trustee Harkemaier?
I'm just really grateful to the citizens and to the voters that approved our fire levy. I think that's a really good thing for Fairfield Township.
We'll echo those comments. Also, yeah, you said that.
Oh, yeah, I just think we need to, I've met with staff, we talked a little bit about some of the 250th. I think that's something we need to continue to think about, some things to celebrate our nation and the 250. So I think there's some ideas out there, but maybe we can talk more about that in June.
Yeah, I actually met with the mayor of Fairfield to talk about some sort of joint thing with the city. And so Administrator LaPensi and the city manager will be discussing those items. See what we can come up with.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great to celebrate our joint community. So, thank you.
Can I say one thing? He's like, no.
When we get to fiscal officer's comments. No, go ahead.
The USS Cincinnati's opening at VOA this weekend, if you'd like to attend.
Really?
I know someone's
Okay.
going to be working there. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Again, I echo the comments that trustee Harkemeyer said to our residents. Thank you. Also, Butler Tech annually holds called a handshake competition. And it's to work on the transferable skills with our high school students. It engages about 16,000 students across Butler County. And those students first win their classroom with the best handshake. And then they go on and they can win their building for the best elevator pitch. And then they can win their region, like Hamilton and Fairfield are a region, like Lakota and some others are a different region. But you can win your region or your building with networking. So we have a networking that they can network with business partners and chambers. And then they go on to a final. And it's an job interview. And the person, the student that won this year out of 16,000 participants, his name was Jackson Lewis. He's a Fairfield Township resident and a firefighter cadet. That's your nephew. How about that? I didn't know that. But he won the, I may change my result now, though. But congratulations to Jackson. He beat out, like I said, hundreds, if not thousands, of other individuals across the Butler Tech family. So did a fantastic job, and we celebrated him along with all his other firefighting students. They really let him have it. But no, it was a great accomplishment, and congratulations to him and his family for raising such a fine young man. Board member comments. We just did that, so we'll go to announcements. Armed Forces Day, Police Memorial Day, and Memorial Day observation will be May 15th, which is tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. here at Heroes Park, right behind us. Memorial Day is observed on Monday, May 25th at 2026. All the offices will be closed in the township. Our Board of Zoning Appeals meeting is Tuesday, May 28th at 7 p.m. in the admin building. The Hamilton/Fairfield Township JED meeting is Thursday, June 11th at 8 a.m. in this administration building. The Juneteenth holiday is Friday, June 19th, and all offices will be closed. And the next Board of Trustees regular meeting is Tuesday, June 23rd at 7 p.m. At the administration building. Okay, at this time, I move that we go into executive session pursuant to ORC 121.22G1 to consider the discipline, appointment, employment, or compensation of public employee or official, and ORC 121.22G2 to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, the sale of property at competitive bidding, or the sale or disposition of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in accordance with section 505.10 of the revised code.
Second,
Any discussion?
taking action afterwards?
There could there may or may not be action to follow. Ms. Schultz, will you call the roll, please?
Trustee Birding?
Yes.
Trustee McAbey?
Yes.
Trustee Harkemeyer?
Yes.
And that motion passes. We will go to executive session at 5:30